Our first atrocious monster, aka the craziest speedrunner in the world. The man who set a record in genocide? And no, it's not Thanos, but pretty close. It's Adolf Hitler. As a teen, he wanted to become a painter, but was rejected by the Academy of Fine Arts. So he chose a different canvas. Europe. He talked his way into ruling Germany by the early 1930s and said, or something along the lines of, "We are the greatest nation of all time, so let's kill everyone else." Seems like that rejection really hurt his ego. His dream was a fantasy land, built on racism, war, nationalism, and well, genocide. What's even crazier is that he managed to spread the idea of race superiority and mass murder being a good thing faster than trends spread on TikTok. So eventually he decided to team up with the Soviet Union, another lovely dictatorship, and invade half of Europe, resulting in over 70 million deaths across the globe. Oh, and he's also responsible for one of the biggest genocides in the world, killing over 6 million Jews, Romani people, and political dissidents. Not because he wanted to protect his nation, but simply because he genuinely believed that those people were subhumans and didn't deserve to exist. And it didn't stop there. Under his rule, Nazi scientists, sadist would be a better word for it, performed absolutely twisted experiments on prisoners, one of which was sewn twins together in an attempt to create conjoined twins. Because, you know, science. In 1941, he got the main character syndrome and betrayed the Soviets. But turns out, he wasn't the main character, more like an MCU villain with ruined potential. After the Soviets and the rest of the world crushed Germany, Hitler couldn't take all this pressure and just rage quit his life by shooting himself in a bunker. Couldn't even take responsibility for his own actions. Well, at least he united most of the world against him, which resulted in creating NATO, United Nations, and multiple peace treaties which led to the long peace, apparently. Definitely the worst of the worst. He can't hide behind any excuses. His intentions were just pure evil. Honestly, I feel like he should have stuck to painting. Do you know what's as bad as a Nazi dictator? A dictator so paranoid, he killed his own people instead of going to the psychiatrist. And yet another dude infamous for his horrible mustache. No, not this guy. This guy. Joseph Stalin. Another one on the list of crazy dudes of the 20th century who thought he had the power to decide people's fates. His own paranoia turned an entire nation into a surveillance state that hurt everyone, including himself. But more on that in a minute. Basically, his life can be summarized to this. He played Sims in real life. I'm not even sure where to start. So we have the Holodomor, when Stalin looked at Ukraine and thought, too independent. So he took all their food, causing millions of people to starve to death. The same way you would put your sim in the pool and remove the stairs. Meanwhile, he said, what famine? Haven't heard of it. This is what gaslighting from dictators looks like. Next comes the Great Purge, imprisoning everyone who was even slightly suspicious, because he was convinced that everyone wanted to betray him. Why did he look at me like this? Gulag! Why you breathing so loudly, you little faggot? Gulag! Hey, Joseph, don't you think it's too much? Too much? Too much? What are you, a Nazi spy? Gulag! Over 1 million people were executed because he thought they might be traitors. Imagine losing your life because someone didn't like your shoes. And then he thought it would be cool to team up with another rising star, Hitler, and invade Poland. Because that's what cool kids do. Of course, Hitler betrayed him in 1941, which apparently shocked Stalin because he just couldn't believe that the guy who lied to literally everyone would lie to him too. So Stalin remembered that he was supposed to be a good guy and said, "Oh, now I care about my people," but in his own twisted way. Stalin's military strategy was about as sophisticated as a 5-year-old playing Call of Duty and sounded like throw more bodies at the problem, which caused 27 million Soviets to die. His death was the same as getting banned in a video game after insulting all of your teammates. All the doctors are traitors, arrest them now.
A few moments later.
Should we help him or... No, let's not bother him. Stalin was the ultimate paranoid dictator, the kind of guy who would play chess against himself and still accuse himself of cheating. I would put Stalin right after Hitler, but there were other guys way worse than him, like our next ill-minded psycho Mao Zedong. Unlike Stalin, who was paranoid, Mao was straight up delusional. A great example of what would happen if TikTok experts could rule the country. His first big brain idea, the Great Leap Forward, which is just a fancy way of saying the Great Leap of a Cliff. Mao woke up one day and decided that China needed to catch up with Western industrialized nations. But unlike the stupid West, he thought China could and should do it overnight. The goal was to become the leader in steel production, but implementation was kind of unorthodox. He forced millions of farmers to stop farming and instead melt all their tools to produce more steel. Because, well, people have to learn new skills in life, Mao thought. However, there were two little issues. That steel was utterly useless, and who could have thought crops won't grow themselves? But of course, you're a serious dictator, so you can't let anyone know you've got problems. So instead, Mao kept exporting crops, leaving nothing for his people. You know, caring for his country's look was Mao's priority, which led to one of the worst famines in history, taking 30 to 45 million people. That's more deaths than in World War I, but he managed to do it without a single war. Now that's some real progress, huh? You thought that would be enough? Hell nah. Mao wasn't satisfied with already being the biggest mass murderer, so he started the Cultural Revolution. Fearing the opposition, he unleashed an army of angry teenagers, the Red Guards, to violently purge everyone who looked somewhat intellectual. Scientists, teachers, doctors, people who wore glasses. Those young fellas got to play CSGO when it wasn't mainstream. An estimated 1 to 3 million people were beaten to death, humiliated, or tortured. Not that I never wanted to show my teacher their place, but it was just a little extreme. Mao died of natural causes, which honestly feels like a scam. Where's karma? His own government immediately undid most of his policies and was like, yeah, let's never do that again. I'll put him right after Hitler, because unlike him, he wasn't just pure evil, he was just stupid and delusional. Before mass murder was a thing, there was another power-hungry maniac. His name was Temujin, but you might know him as your grand something father, or just Genghis Khan, marching over the entire world. He impregnated more women than you even talked to in your life. Just think about it. About 1 in 200 men today are descendants of Genghis Khan. That's over 16 million people carrying his DNA. Talk about leaving a legacy. His childhood would make Batman's origin story look like a child's play. His father was poisoned, their own tribe abandoned his family. Oh, and most of his childhood consisted of starvation, kidnapping, and murders. So little Genghis Khan, like a real Uchiha, decided to take over the entire world and kill everyone on his way. He and his Mongol army killed around 40 million people, which was 10% of the world's population. That's bigger percentage than both world wars combined. Entire cities were erased from the map. If you resisted, you weren't just conquered, you were wiped out. He really played civilization on the most aggressive difficulty. Unlike Stalin, his war strategies were so good, he took over most of Eurasia. But what's even crazier, he was actually kind of progressive for his time. He accepted any religion, as long as you were a good boy, built an entire postal system across the continent, and introduced Mongol laws, which punished theft and corruption. But I guess they didn't apply to the Khan himself. Still, the whole kill everyone who resists policy, not very good. Genghis Khan died in 1227. How? Well, pick your favorite theory. Fell off a horse like a noob, shot by an arrow mid-battle. Tragic, but respectable. Or, this is my personal favorite, died from an infection after trying to enjoy a captured princess. His burial site is still unknown, because his funeral procession killed everyone they met along the way, to keep it a secret. Classic Genghis move. Compared to the previous three guys, Genghis Khan doesn't seem so horrible, but it doesn't excuse all the terrible things he's done. Well, Genghis Khan had his reasons for what he did. But our next guy, he did terrible things, just for fun. Meet Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus. Thank God we stopped naming people like that. He was also known as Caligula, meaning little boot, because as a kid, he dressed like a tiny Roman soldier. Oh, cute, right? Wrong! Because after becoming emperor of Rome, he got sick, recovered, and then either suffered a brain infection, or just decided that being normal was overrated. First order of business? Declaring himself a god, and holding conversations with statues. Oh man, those senators are getting on my nerves. All their "we need stability, Caligula," and "please stop bankrupting Rome, Caligula." So annoying, dude. Yeah, it's almost like they want the empire to, I don't know, survive. Wild concept. Right? Like, I'm this close to replacing the whole Senate. Honestly, my horse Incitatus would do a better job than any of them. Oh, sure. Why not make him a senator while you're at it? Wait, that's actually genius. I was being sarcastic, you lunatic. No, think about it. Incitatus never complains, doesn't scheme behind my back. And unlike Senator Gracchus, he's never called me insufferable at a dinner party. Incredible. The Empire is doomed because you lost an argument to a dude and thought, you know who would handle this better? My horse. What are you gonna do next? Conquer the sea? That's actually a great idea. Oh, fuck. While we complain about unqualified politicians, Rome literally had a horse as a senator. Imagine being an aristocrat, working your ass off to become a senator, and then losing a spot to a horse? And yes, he actually attacked the sea. One day, he gathered his entire army on the shores of the English Channel. But instead of invading Britain, he ordered them to stop the waves and collect seashells as spoils of war. At last, we march to conquer Britain. I've been training for this for an entire life. For Rome! Now, on my command. Yes, Emperor! Fight the waves! What the actual fuck? Now, was this a result of his sickness? Or a strategic move to humiliate the Roman army and prove his dominance? We'll leave that to the historians. What we do know is that his madness didn't stop there. Caligula loved having fun. But fun held a very twisted meaning for him. One time, he was bored at dinner and had the guy sawed in half. Why? Because it's funny, I guess. Oh, and he would also sleep with everyone, including his own family. He slept with all 3 of his sisters, and had fun with all the senator's wives. And honestly, considering his obsession with his horse, I wouldn't be surprised if Mrs. Incitatus got some attention too. It got so bad that his own guards decided, yeah, we're so done with this. They stabbed him like 30 times in public. When even your bodyguards think you're too crazy to live, you know you messed up. Compared to the other monsters on this list, Caligula wasn't the most deadly, but he was, without a question, the most unhinged. And if history has taught us anything, maybe don't put a guy who argues with statues in charge of an empire. So that's it, folks. 5 of the worst people in history. Subscribe so we can be prepared for the next evil dictator, because he always can be closer than we think. And comment below if you want to see part 2. See ya!